I'm delighted to be here at Fredericia with Thomas Graversen, who is the owner of Fredericia, and also Anders Byriel, who's the CEO of Kvadrat. So it's a Danish invasion tonight. And we're here to talk about the legacy of Nanna Ditzel, who's a Danish designer who maybe we aren't that familiar with and should be more familiar with, but we're going to change that tonight. First of all, Thomas, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your company, and introduce people to the showroom here.
Thank you very much, Marcus, and welcome everybody. I'm super excited to see so many people here. I'm the second generation of the company that you know, because our company dates back to 1911, so we're more than 100 years old. But it was not our family who founded it, but in 55 my father bought the company, and that's why I'm only the second generation, and having the third generation already as head of design and product management in the company. So we are a truly family company. We're going to talk about Nanna Ditzel. I'm looking forward to that because she had great impact on our life and also on me personal.
So, of course, the connection between Nanna Ditzel and both of you is that you have both worked with her, or they've both worked with your brand. Anders, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all. Who are you, and what's Kvadrat?
Good question. We are a lot, all kind of things. You could say, in a way, the link also to Nanna is important. You could say Kvadrat, we set out in '68. Nanna was our first designer. We were very committed to contemporary culture already then and contemporary design. My father and his partner, I'm second generation also, we share that. But we are two families who own Kvadrat, and we still own it and plan to keep it. It's in fashion to sell businesses. We have no plans, right, Thomas? No. So just to talk about my father and his partner. My father worked with Nanna and also worked with Werner Panton and Gunnar Andersen, and lived of course, in the 60s, but he felt the space in the 50s and 60s was a little bit what he called not so much oxygen. It was very like by committee, couture and all those things. Everything was a little beige. And there for us, Nanna was like a color explosion. So it's together with Werner Panton and a designer you don't know, Gunnar Andersen, but an amazing Scandinavian or Danish intellectual, a professor and painter, and actually, so we are born there. So we feel more connected to, you could say, pop art and this whole thing than to mid-century. But mid-century is beautiful, and we are reliving it now, and it's becoming a part of a kind of global heritage. I think what's happening at the moment, it just keeps going, right?
Exactly.
And Thomas, who is Nanna Ditzel? Why don't we know her as much as we should? And what's your relationship or your company's relationship with her?
It's actually strange that you don't know her, because she actually lived for 20 years in London and had this wonderful shop, Interspace, where she was importing Italian furniture and selling them here in London. But in 87, 88, she returned to Copenhagen because her second husband died, Kurt Heide. And that was where we met her again, because we knew her from way back. Because Nanna is, we have to start a little bit with Mogensen and Wegner and all these fantastic designers from about 1914. 10, 14, Arne Jacobsen as well. Nanna was the next generation. She was approximately 10 years younger and was taught by the Klint school, which was like in Germany you had the Bauhaus, in Denmark you had the Klint school, and broke out of these very strict formal rules of designing that Klint was teaching. But he had super much impact on the Danish way of looking at this functionality and the design in furniture. And she was so fond of Werner Panton, who was like the bad guy in that group, because he was all about colors, all about organic forms, which was absolutely not Klint. So she broke out of that. And Mogensen, who was our sort of founding designer, he was the DNA of our company. He died in '72. And he was such a strong designer and was like he was taught by Clint, so it was very much that, if you can call religion, design-wise. And when we was looking for something that could be a paradigm shift for us or a new direction, it was very obvious for us to look at Nanna, because she was at that time the same age as my dad, so they sort of felt they came out of the same history, but with a very, very different approach to design. And that was not only a paradigm shift for Fredericia, but also a huge explosion of sales and a totally different DNA for us that actually, which was funny, fit perfect to what we came out of. No one ever questioned that we took this direction. And that was exactly when I became CEO. And so she became the next house architect, or how could you say it? And my next 10, 12 years with Nanna was taking the company in this new direction. So in that aspect, she was not actually seen as the most obvious choice for us, but she was a woman. She came with a little bit more sensitive kind of design to this very masculine Mogensen Wegner era that everyone knew at that time. And that was a lucky strike for us. And she became a fantastic friend also.
And above your heads, there's a slideshow on rotation. I think the two of you contributed images to that. To this? Is that right? So just talk us through what we're seeing here as these images circulate behind you.
This is a very Nanna-like picture because she cut everything out in cardboard, paper, tape, instead of drawing, because she knew when it worked in paper, it could work in veneer, it could work construction-wise. And as a manufacturer, it also a big privilege to be able to see even a small model in 3D. This is also a very interesting picture because she thought that boardrooms, you should lie down in boardrooms instead of sitting up in chairs. And so she actually meant that seriously, that people should lie around and have meetings like that. So that was so different from the world we came from.
And is that how you do things at Fredericia now?
Unfortunately not, but maybe we should. I would love to. Yeah.
And Anders, what about you? What is your personal relationship, what was your personal relationship with Nanna and the company's relationship with her?
Compared to Thomas, I got to know her a little bit later. And for me, it's probably two. It's the person and then the designer. And I think as a person, she was really extraordinary. And also she was very graceful. And she was a cosmopolitan. So you could go anywhere. You could go the strangest places. You will meet one Dane, her. So she was so connected, and she really knew so much about the world. So also really, so in that way, and then for me, we were both members of the National Design Council. I always had to sit next to her, like one of her sons. Maybe we were the two sons she never had. So I always had to sit next to her, and then she always drinking whiskey, and then we had to go home after the meetings to her beautiful home. She had a beautiful home in 4 stories. And then have more whiskeys, but she was quiet. She was like a little
tough life for you.
Yeah. But also, I couldn't drink that big ones, but that was a kind of the person. And then she was also very, very stylish, very thoughtful. Even her funeral, I'd never been to a funeral like her funeral. Everything was designed through. It was a very beautiful chapel. Everything was organized. Everything, how the flowers, everything was designed before. So that her whole life, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but also when she passed away, I actually truly expected her to go into the design heaven, at least the Scandinavian design heaven, next to Werner Panton and Arne Jacobsen and so on. So I was like surprised, like, where is she? And so that's actually, I think that's also why it's great, this discussion today. Or this conversation, but a little bit forgotten.
And this is a nice picture. She's smoking a cigarette. Presumably those are her children. And did she design the outfits that they were wearing?
Absolutely. And she got the twins, Lulu and Vita, and then Denny, who runs the design studio today, the oldest one. And Yeah, this is a very typical Nanna picture because that's very much how she was, enjoying herself. She always made an appearance. It was just like standing around and waiting for someone. If there was a stair, she made sure that she could walk down that stair to meet you when she came, and you could laugh at that, but it was never odd when it was her. And she was also sometimes the most arrogant person without being arrogant, if you understand what I mean. But she could change a table 5 times in a restaurant because she thought there was a draft or something like that. And the waiters always smiled and gave her this new plate. And that was the way she was. And that made her this fantastic personality that is hard to meet today, maybe. I have never met anyone like that.
And tell us a little bit more about the pictures we're seeing.
This picture,
this is
you
nice
see all
ones.
the fretwork on this house. That was the inspiration for the Trinidad chair. And that was the first version of the Trinidad chair. And the one with metal legs we have sold more than 1 million pieces of. And of course, a chair like that is maybe a once in a lifetime that you get the chance to develop something like that. If you saw the chair in '93 when it came out, it looked like something never ever seen before. Everyone was buying the Arne Jacobsen 7 chair or the Ant, and then suddenly someone dared to make ornamentation on a chair to all the cutouts. But for Nanna, it was her curiosity for all the technical stuff. She was reading technical magazines to see if there was a new 5X CNC machine coming to Denmark. And that was actually the case with the Trinidad chair. She wanted to try out this new robot thing. The good thing about it was that all the good effects of these cutouts, we later found out, made a perfect acoustic effect, and the chair was used for concert halls and stuff like that. So sometimes she did stuff that she didn't really know the effect of first. But the chair was immediately acknowledged as something new, and I think maybe also in Denmark at that time, they were looking for a replacement for these old Jacobsen things.
She's so precise conceptually.
Yeah.
That she's very much, she gets an idea and then try to bring it to the product. So seeing this beautiful house in Trinidad, and then taking the idea conceptually and how to make it into a piece of furniture.
And she designed fabrics for Kvadrat as well.
Oh yeah. I think probably many people who are present here know Hallingdale. So, and that was of course our first product. And
how many times around the world can you do?
Actually, I'm not so good at math, but we actually sold. Thomas said 1 million, but we actually, I think we did 5. We've done 5 million meters. 5 million meters for now, and actually also even it's now alive with companies like Fredericia, but also companies like Capellini, Moroso. So it became a part of the core history for contemporary furniture. What we are saying about Hallingdale is also, I could say, even of course we do probably 30 products every year, but in somehow you don't do products like that anymore, because the product is in a way, it's so durable. It's in a way maybe a waste of materials. So it looks very plain, but it's actually what the French call a flamme. So you take two yarns, you are 20. What do you call it? You have 2 yarns, you twist them together, and one have a flamme, so you got this uneven surface, but also from durability and appearance retention. I think that's a good English word, like a woolen jacket that it just keeps looking good if it's a good quality. So actually, what we have is also, if private people are saying. We got 4 kids, we got a dog, we got a cat. Then we say, okay, take Hallingdale. And it's just, and you have actually
we
also...
still do.
Yeah, and actually you have, now I keep going, but also like if you take vintage furniture who go on auction, the foam have collapsed and the textile is still perfect. They have textile from the 60s. So that's of course also like Thomas saying, it kind of built our business. What it did is also, for Kvadrat, color is very important. So she was our first influential colorist. So also, and that was, to be truthful, also a little bit of challenge as we moved along, and that she looked at color the same way. A very important contribution for us, and I think one of the most important colorists out of the 60s, together, at least out of Scandinavian space, together with Werner Panton, and where she had a sophistication in her colors, also how she combined things. And so very important. And that was, to keep going on the textile, you could say one of the, we did a lot of curtains with us, but curtain has a little bit a shorter lifetime. So somehow it kind of ended up, so we actually have, I think, more or less nothing, but only what you're seeing right now and what we are sitting on here. We have this link to contemporary art and working with contemporary artists. And we have a very exciting guy, some of you maybe know him, called, now I say it in Vietnamese, Jan Vo, or Dan with a D, Dan Vo, who's maybe one of the world's most important contemporary artists at the moment. A little bit a wild kid, very challenging how things are put together, very political, and have had some amazing shows. His Guggenheim shows with 6 stars in New York Times and so on. So check him out if you don't know him. But one of Jan's journeys, being Scandinavian, Danish, Vietnamese, was in a way to set history straight. So he also, and it's actually not on our initiative. So when we worked with him, he said like, "Don't you have more of Nanna?" And we're like, we don't really do historical things by Kvadrat. It's like a principle. We never do things with vintage or heritage. And then he said, but he insisted. And then the daughters and Nanna said, we looked through the archive, and then we started working. And then this product came out, and he loved it. And we were like, wow, what have you found for us? And then with the support of the Nanna Ditzel family and foundation, Jan worked with our team to color it, and then we reintroduced this product. But what I liked is also what you see in contemporary art. This about like adjusting history, which is happening big time in contemporary art at the moment, where you're going back and saying, is it the canon? Do you call that in English? Is it the right canon we got? And do we actually need to adjust this canon we got going? So that's the new excitement we actually got with Nanna. I think also Trinidad.
You sometimes forget that Nanna was, in my opinion, a truly industrial designer. She was taught a cabinet maker. She graduated from the furniture school in Copenhagen, and the academy. But she was designing maybe the most famous trains in Denmark, the EC3 trains, also with Allingdale on the seats. Also not designing the actual train, but designing the look of the train and the whole interior. She did all these wonderful jewelries for George Jensen. And if you see on some of the pictures, you can see that she took these themes across competences. So when she did, you see this arm bracelet there. It's also when she saw this on Trinidad with all the fretsaw things. And again, when you see the fabric from Kvadrat here, it's the same theme. And she also invented that into the furniture. So when she sort of got hooked on something, she tried it out on different levels. And that made her very interesting to work with. And then on top of that, she also was like a life coach, especially for me. My mom died when I was 21. And Nanna always had an opinion on how to behave. And it was not like, sometimes she actually thought that, why is everyone in the furniture business so dull and boring? So like you said, sometimes you emptied a bottle of whiskey, and she could carry on speaking super, super seriously about design, and you were really struggling.
Thomas, maybe tell a little bit about her house. It's not there anymore. It's not
houses.
Documented. Yeah, but especially she had a very, very eccentric house. I cannot remember.
The house in Copenhagen she bought when she returned from London was the brother of Werner Panton, Jørgen Panton, who lived in that house. It was all blue. And there was a 5-story house in the middle of Copenhagen, right next to our showroom, actually, in Copenhagen. And she insisted in having one of the best skilled cabinet makers hired. They should have a silver medal. That is the highest achievement you can get as a cabinet maker. So she had the basement was one small factory of cabinet maker machinery, so she could do her own prototypes. And then she had her drawing studio on the next level, and then the further you went up, then...
Thomas, what I want you to tell is also the coloring. Maybe I'm more a color guy, but
the coloring was insane.
Yeah, it was really wild.
Insane,
so each room had a color.
Yeah.
So you had like a pink
The staircase
room.
was in aquamarine, and there was But that was the colors she was.
Very solidic.
She had her favorite colors, and if we as manufacturers didn't want to use them, for sure she used them herself in any way. And now it was a fantastic house. Yeah.
And as just now you were talking about reviewing the canon, looking back over history. But if we look back over the history of Danish design, why is Nanna Ditzel not up there with all the other names we've been talking about, the Werner Pantons and the Arne Jacobsen? Is it because she was a woman and she therefore didn't get recognition simply because of that? And I'm very conscious. I'm very conscious that we're three white men here talking about this.
No, but you're a little bit of it is true. But Nanna was like, you either loved that kind of interpretation of furniture or you hated it.
Yeah.
So she was a little bit more love and hate. She was not average in any way.
Yeah.
And
a non-pleaser.
She was not a pleaser for sure.
Opposite.
She's not what?
A non-pleaser. Yeah. You know, there's no mainstream. It was always...
But when Nanna and Jørgen in the 50s designed, he died only 40 years old in 1961. But when they were a couple, the attention was very much on Jørgen because he was the man and he was probably the one speaking out when someone... So after he died, she sort of stepped in and was in charge of everything herself. But I think because she was in London for 20 years, she was more or less forgotten in Denmark. But what was not forgotten was her... she did a lot of household stuff, like bowls and textile for tablecloths and stuff like that people were living in their daily life, maybe not knowing it was Nanna. But if you really study her back catalog, she has been designing almost everything in your daily life. Because, like you said, if it was missing, she designed it and made it. And that is actually how most good design is invented, because you need it yourself.
To answer, I don't know if it's because she's a woman, but just concluding, I definitely think she's forgotten. And I think also from also knowing and actually liking Werner Panton a lot, I can't see her... Werner did he did some amazing product, but he also did a lot of strange stuff. And
you
also
mean bad stuff?
Yeah, kind of. Not, maybe somebody it's being filmed, but things that not so useful, right? So Werner did, and we actually even worked with him. My father was very close. He was big inspiration for him.
Yeah, but he was also abroad. He was not as recognized as Wegner.
But he was also a radical.
Yeah.
It was also.
But he lived in
you were
Switzerland.
with him or without him. So I think I have to conclude it's probably because she was, at least she was forgotten, and probably because she was a woman.
But there's also been, over the last few years, a great realization that a lot of the important women, for example, at the Bauhaus, were also overlooked.
Exactly.
Often the husband got all the attention, and the woman was doing a lot of work in the background and not being recognized. So gradually those women, their contribution is being recognized.
You're seeing another Dane now. Even
Bodil Kjær and Grete Hjalk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Grete Hjalk is amazing. Thomas, you can
Genius,
still
but-
do some of her things.
No, but
Grete Hjalk is really wild. I
Yeah.
bought a daybed. It was really expensive because it was on auction. But I bought a
But
daybed. It's one of
Bodil-
the most beautiful daybeds I have at home.
Bodil Kjær
Grete
went to
Hjalk, I don't
London
know
to New
if
York.
How many
know.
daybeds do you have?
Some. But Grete Hjalk, really, if you don't know her, really check her out. But also Bodil Kjær coming, and it's kind of nice because she's experiencing it now.
But she also returned to Denmark. She lived her whole life in New York.
Yeah.
So she became big there. And I don't know, maybe we're such a tiny little country, then when people leave us, then we
we
tend
don't
to
really
forget
like
them.
it.
But when Nanna returned, she was actually considered the punk woman of Danish design, because all the younger generation, they didn't dare to do what she tried out. And of course, these red chairs we call the butterfly chairs, they were never put in production, but they were like a statement for her, just to she helped the young generation dare do more. which
think
was important.
also sitting here reflecting, she's probably in a way one of the links from the people who built mid-century.
Absolutely.
And now we, of course, also Thomas's business and more Scandinavian. A lot is happening in Scandinavia, of course, at the moment. And there's also a new generation who's been in design, who originally, when we entered the industry, there was nothing. People were so the shadow. I don't know if you have that expression in English. The shadow of the big trees. There's nothing under the big trees. So that's been in Scandinavian design.
We lost about 2 generations because they didn't dare standing on the shoulders of Wegener and
she's maybe one of the person who's bridging into also because
it's very good. That's absolutely true. If you take probably some of you know Cecilia Mans, who did a lot of design for Bang & Olufsen, does design for us and for others, for Tansen also. She was super inspired by her. A very, very young, very talented female designer in Denmark, Maria Broen. She's devoted to her. So I think there will be a new generation looking, having her as their rock star, and that's good for the business.
And as you said that she had been forgotten a bit, but if you were to give her rightful place in the kind of the greats of Danish design, would she be up there with the Pantons and those kind of people?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, fully. I think she's in top 5, 100%. She's with the big masters.
She's turning 100 next year.
Yes, it's a centenary of her death, isn't
just
it?
wait
of
and
her
see.
Birth, sorry,
just
year.
Wait and see the design museums around, maybe not around the world, but at least some of the major ones.
I think actually, but now it's not an idea development. We probably also need a good international book on somewhere Phaidon or somebody telling the story.
If only there were some good design publishers in the house.
Good.
There are some very, very good design publishers here. No, but I have a little thing I would like to tell about her way of working, because sometimes she took things further than maybe you thought you could do technically. And we did a chair together that is now unfortunately not in production anymore. But she was very fond of these laminated wood things you could do in 3D shapes and everything. But then she designed a chair called Sona, and we went to this subcontractor, and they were sitting there being very wise about their skills and blah, 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 and said, with all our sort of accumulated knowledge about veneer, what you suggest, Nanna Ditzel, is not possible. Okay, so that means you tried it? No, but with all our accumulated knowledge about veneer, then I think you should try. And then out came this perfect piece. And that actually led to another fantastic piece by Hans Sandgren Jacobsen, where they suddenly got the guts to carry on with something they actually denied to do. So sometimes when you are so stubborn and when you push stuff so hard, you actually achieve something. And she had this motto: sometimes you get ahead 3 steps, and you realize you have to go back 2 steps. Then you are still 1 step ahead. And that was also that was always her way of thinking. And another thing was, she always said, okay, then one more try. She never gave up, and she was never too sort of I don't know the English word, but if you as a manufacturer suggested to change something because that will help running production, making it more efficient or whatever, it was always a very sort of two-way discussion. It was not like, I designed it like this, I want it like this, so forget about that. It was never like that with Nanna. And that was, I mean, a lot of young designers could learn from that. I have met designers that will never ever get anywhere because they think that now they spend 2 years on this design, so nothing can be changed. But the design phase is actually first super interesting when you start, having these obstacles that you have to work your way around. It's like the Dogma films that we were very famous of in Denmark, that you put up so many obstacles to push filmmaking further. She did the same for herself. And I think that's also part of the success of her designs. because more or less everything she touched became big commercial, and those that didn't make it commercial, she actually took out of production again. It was not interesting for her. So it was not just the form and the design. It has to have a purpose. People should be able to live with it, and it should be functional. And if she didn't achieve that, she dropped it. And that's also a good learning for because the world doesn't need a lot of form. We need tools in our daily life that we can live with and that grow with us and also last.
Well, it's been a fascinating talk. Thomas and Anders, thank you so much. Hopefully this can be the start, or we can claim this as a start of a re-evaluation of Nanna Ditzel's career. And probably, although there's nothing in my glass, we should all raise a glass to someone who is a departed great and whose reputation deserves to be better known around
Thank
the
you for
world.
making it.
We'll do our utmost.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much to the audience. Thank you very much, Fredericia, and to Thomas and Anders.